Hi there, folks. Simon here. This is the 2022 TAC Championship Tournament. This is the semifinals between Ali and ManaT. This is game 4. We saw them split their first two games, and then we saw ManaT, after actually having a position with Tinue and missing it, just unfortunately missing that position. Very difficult to spot that Tinue, of course. He did miss that. Ali ended up later on winning with a road. And so Ali is up 2 games to 1. If Ali wins game 4, he moves on to the finals of the TAC Championship. However, ManaT, if he wins this game 4, ManaT will force a tiebreaker game between the two of them. So they'll have to play the tiebreaker to decide who goes to the finals. So this is exciting. It's high pressure here for ManaT. ManaT is playing as black, so he's got to win as black here if he wants to make it on to the finals. But let's cover what exactly this game is. This is played just like every other game in this tournament. It is played on a 6x6 board with 15 minutes on the clock and a 15-second increment, meaning that 15 seconds gets added to your clock after every turn. Now we're also playing these games with 2 komi, meaning that 2 gets added to black's flat count score at the end of the game if it does not end in a road. One other thing I should mention, just like in Game 3, this game was recorded by Aliono2 spectating the game, and then he sent me the recording so that I could do the commentary over it. I was not able to make this match. Ali lives in Australia, and yeah, timing doesn't quite work out exactly for me. I can't make every match, but I've made most of them. So that's what matters, I guess. Anyway, this is me doing the commentary live. I have not seen this game before, so I am just going through it as if it's brand new and live to me, just like it is to anyone watching this for the first time. This is my first time watching it as if it were live on Twitch or whatever like I do. So, without any further ado whatsoever, let's jump right in to this Game 4 of the semifinals match in this 2022 TAC Championship between Ali and ManaT. All right, we see A1 drop, and then F6. We see that opposite corners, and then Ali going straight for that center control. Not going to go for the knight's opening, which is super common. Going to go for that center control. We also are not seeing ManaT go for that hug opening. Just going to play those standard opposite or adjacent corners. This is an interesting opening here we're seeing where they're sort of going diagonal opposite each other. But then that capstone gets a great spot to drop right there. Now, it's basically even whether he drops that cap at C4 or at D3. It does the exact same thing. But I really like that capstone placement. He gets that capstone out as white first before black does. It also follows a lot of the guidelines. I think it follows every guideline, in fact, of the capstones video of TAC University. It's in a really great position here. Now, that at C2 would be a great spot to drop a capstone if you were white also, and if you were black, to be honest. But white already dropped it, and it's in a good position. White, I feel like, has the upper hand here, but that could very well change. As soon as black drops their capstone, it could change things dramatically. But that capstone being on the board for white just it's in such a good spot, and it puts them in such control of the board. And so we see white focusing on this vertical line here. It looks like black is sort of trying to push their own vertical, and then black plays that capstone at D5. Now, that capstone's in a pretty solid spot because it can come left or it can come down. It's not going to be isolated. It can cut off that vertical threat that white is building, and it can also cut off any horizontal that he goes for. Unless he goes for it down below, like at E3, for example, B2, A2, sort of that line brings the capstone down. And it looks like that's what he's going for. White said, all right, your capstone is going to go all the way up here. I'm going to play down at the bottom of the board, go for a horizontal down here where you can't reach me with it, at least not immediately. And so a good play here, I think, from black would be to drop at A2 to keep white from making that connection on that left half of the board with that anchor point. Then you can work on your own vertical at the same time with that. and even build your anchor point on the horizontal. So I feel like a2 is the right play, and ManaT obviously agrees with me by dropping it right there. White plays again at a3 to, number one, cut off black's ability to make that vertical threat, but also to go for that horizontal line still. It's still in the game here. So I think we're probably going to see black. Yeah, black's going to build for that vertical. Now white could guard by placing at a4, or it could go the aggressive route and play at something like e3 and keep going for that horizontal. But a4 would be sort of a guarding move, because black wants to drop at probably b6 and maybe a4 to be able to make that tack threat, because they don't have one currently. Or b6 and then d2 left. D2 left works because you can place at c1 for the road after b6 is played, or you can bring 2c2 left onto b2 to create that same road. So white is instead going to play up at c6. Now this is working towards white's vertical threat, kind of goading black into bringing that capstone over. Now that that capstone's over, white doesn't have to worry about the capstone coming down onto d4. He knows where it is, and he can build over there, just kind of continue that same vertical line out on the other side of that black capstone. Now, black can still come right again, and that's exactly what they're hoping for. They're just going to place up at b6, work for this vertical threat. Now, I do like d2 left here for black, but white's going to have to do something to keep this from ending too well, from black ending up in too good of a spot here, because black is going to be making a threat most likely on the following turn. So white's going to have to do something to either stop that from happening. Oh, okay, that capstone coming down is really nice, because white can now bring the capstone left to cut off black's threat. Now, black's threat is toast there on that left-hand side, because if he brings that a4 down, then black can capture it and recover the captive and make some positive flat on differential moves, and get some more power and control over that left-hand side of the board and the bottom as well. And so black is kind of out of luck here. They've got to go around on the other side of white's capstone, and that's going to be a lot more difficult for him. I think what we might see is white go for that vertical line still, maybe playing at b1 or c1, and then up at c6 perhaps, or maybe playing c6 first, knowing that if they play c6 now, they can go for the horizontal and the vertical, depending on what black does in response. I feel like c6 makes a lot of sense here, and I really like that play. But instead, he's going to be playing over at e3, really focusing on that bottom horizontal, which I find interesting. But it might just be to keep that black capstone out of the game for now. And so black's not making a threat here. White is now making a threat by playing at f3. This is the horizontal threat, bringing c2 up to c3. That would be a road. So what is black's response? Potentially is to bring d2 left, which would be a tack threat, but it doesn't feel like a really strong play. Instead, he's bringing that a4 down. This is sort of goading that capstone into capturing onto a3. Now, one of the ways he can capture onto a3 without just automatically getting walled on b3 is to leave behind one black flat. And he can do that, leave behind a black flat, capture onto a3 without losing to a road here. And I think that might be the play to make, is to take 2b3 left. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what I'm saying, This is portable tack notation. It is off on the left-hand side of the board. It's how we describe moves in tack. And if you don't understand how it works or anything like that, you can check out the PTN or portable tack notation video on Tack University. But if you take 2b3 left, bring over one black flat and the capstone onto a3, black's unable to wall at b3, and then you can spread back to the right, or you can spread down. Either way, they both work, and you don't have to worry about black winning right away. At least I'm pretty sure you don't. Yeah, because if black brings d2 left, for example, to make that c1 threat, or come left onto b2, you could just bring that stack, that capstone stack, to the right again, dropping a white flat on b3, and then your capstone on c3, and then boom, you've got... Oh, he's not doing it, though. He's dropping a white flat. Not making the capture. Oh, that white flat feels pretty good, actually. I didn't even consider not capturing. But now white has to deal with black making this threat. So black now has attack threat coming left with d2 onto d1, or onto c2, sorry, d2 to c2. That would be a road. White comes up, makes their attack threat. Now this is where I was thinking that black could throw their capstone down, but they can't. If they throw the capstone down to c3, it leaves a road behind for white. White can bring that capstone up from b3 to b4 and make a road. That's probably why that a4 flat was dropped, so that black could not throw their capstone down onto c3. Wow. That is good. Now what black's doing, they're capturing up onto d3 now. Now, if black throws that capstone down, it is not a road for white. White captures down with a3, making their tag threat. And black does throw that capstone down. I think we might see... So black wants to be able to capture up with that capstone stack. So black probably wants to drop a flat on c2 here. Now, as white, you might want to just drop a wall at c2. You have more material up at the top of the board. So dropping a wall down there at the bottom doesn't mess you up as much as it messes up black. You could also capture left with your c4 stack, I guess. If you capture left with 2c4 left, then you're still working for that horizontal, and you're keeping that flat out of, that captive out of black's clutches. Because black can get that with the capstone right now. Let's also take a look at the time real quick. ManaT's still above 15 minutes. He's above the starting time, taking less than 15 seconds on average per turn. ManaT's down below 12 minutes on the clock. Or sorry, Ali is down below 12 minutes on the clock. ManaT is the one with good time. There's a lot going on that part of the board where Alion is signaling. Again, that's not my mouse moving around. This is not my setup. This is me watching a recording of Ali on 02. So when he does weird stuff, we can just blame him for it, right? But yeah, I am seeing... I mean, it's risky to do 2c4 left, because then that's a lot of captives underneath that flat. That's two black flats underneath your one white flat. Yes, it's guarded by your capstone, but you've already got two black flats under that capstone. You don't want to limit the mobility of your capstone too much, and especially not unnecessarily. I think you want to go for a vertical line here, actually. I think you want to shift gears, go for the vertical. You can take 2a3 at some point and spread it down 1-1, or 1-2, sorry, 2a3 minus 1-2. But he does drop a flat at c2. Now, the flat at c2 is what I was thinking of before. What it does is black wanted to drop at c2 to be able to capture up with that capstone and make the threat. Now, dropping a flat at c2 means that black has to pick between capturing up or capturing down, can't do both of them. But I do like the idea of white going for the vertical here by spreading out a3, going 2a3 or 3a3 minus 1-2, because that'll leave one white flat on top at a2 and a white black on top of a1. So it'll have white white on a1 a2, white on b2, the capstone on b3, and he's got the rest of that up above there on C and D, kind of going for that vertical already. So dropping a white flat at c5 and a4, and that will work towards that that vertical line as well. So I like the position that white's capstone is in currently. It's right in that spot where it can mess up a lot of what white's working on, or what black's working on, and it can work really well to keep black's capstone out of that left half of the board and connecting up with the rest of his flats. Black's building at d2. He can build at d1 on the following turn or capture left onto c2 to make that tag threat. White is potentially looking at that 2c4 left move here coming up pretty soon. Probably not going to make it just yet. He could also bring that white capstone up onto b4 at some point, but that he wants to move that a3 stack before he does that because he doesn't want black's capstone to get it. I like the a3 spread, but it doesn't do anything to combat this budding threat that black is working on. And I think that it's better for black if black captures up onto c4 here before placing at d1 or before capturing on c2. I feel like that the capture is what black wants to do more right now. It leads to a stronger threat. And you're recovering that captive that could potentially get away from you otherwise. So that might be a good reason to bring 2c4 left, just to keep it out of the capstone, out of the capstone's hands there. It's a tough one. It's a tough spot, really. And I understand why Ali has taken so much time on this turn. It is a pretty pivotal turn, pretty pivotal moment in this game. Ali has taken, I think, 4 minutes on this turn, just deciding what to do here. I mean, I don't know. He plays up at c5. So this is what I was talking about earlier, going sort of for this vertical line. I think this is where black is going to capture up with 2c3 plus. That makes the attack threat, also messes up what white's going for at that upper half of the board. I think if you're black, that's got to be like the only move you're thinking about right now. Yeah, coming up with 2c3 plus just feels really good. No, he just drops the flat at d1, makes the threat. So this is now a threat for black. White now brings over 2c4 left, which is what we were looking at for a while. Now this c4 spot would be way too good for white, so black probably wants to drop it at c4, maybe even a wall, but likely just a flat to capture onto that spot, maybe recover those captives on b4. So he does flat there. So white can't place there now to make his attack threat, because that's what he wanted. He wanted to place there at c4 to make attack threat. White can now make the a3 move, however. He can make the 3a3 minus 1, 2, and that is also a vertical threat. Or I'm looking at the potential for a horizontal, maybe some sort of capture on d3 might work, to be able to try and get black's capstone to move over to d3, and then you're more free to work on c, b, and a. Because if you get black's capstone to move to d3, then you can bring d4 left and not have to worry about the capstone interfering in that. So if you do e3 left, for example, the capstone might want to capture onto that, and if it does, then you bring d4 left, and now you've got the vertical threat of either placing at b1 or throwing that down, that a3 down. That seems like a really good sort of trap. How trappy is it, though? Because I guess b6 is still there to come right onto c6 and mess that up. All right, now he's got a horizontal attack threat. He can come down with c5 onto c4 to make a road. Which I wasn't even looking at. Wasn't even looking at that. I considered a horizontal, but I thought we were too far away to make a threat on this turn. I was mistaken, just dropping a flat there before it does it. I was too distracted by my fun ideas of a vertical threat. Black could capture onto b4 here. White's capstone would recapture it, but it is an option. Or, if black captures b4, white walls c4, which messes up their own stuff, though, so they probably don't want to do that. But it would keep black from smashing the wall, just because that capstone smashing would cause a wall, a road for white. Black captures right with b5. This renews the vertical threat and also stops white's immediate horizontal. So white needs to make a capture here if he wants to stop this black threat. Just placing at b5 won't do it. Black will be able to bring b6 right onto c6. So white's got to make a capture here, and if they make any captures up above, that capstone can get it. If he makes a capture below, just a flat placement will fix that at c2, for example. So I think what we're looking at is either capturing onto d3 or c5. I think those are like the really only options. And so he does capture c5. This renews the horizontal threat for white. Black may decide to spread the capstone up onto c5. Does spread the capstone to c5. White can... I kind of like white coming down with d4 onto d3. It's a threat by placing it c3 or by bringing the top flat from d3 down to d2. So he can't just block it with a wall. He'll have to make a capture, likely capturing onto d3. I guess you could capture onto a3 as well. So yeah, he would be able to capture onto either d3 or a3. Those are the only plays that he could make there. I like it. I like that a lot. I like the d4 minus play here. I feel like it's a really strong move. But let's look at the time real quick. There's 8 minutes between them. 8 minutes. Ali's down to 4.5. Black is at 12.5. Okay, so white did make the d4 minus move here. He made it. Excuse me. So now we're going to be thinking about okay, so black does capture onto d3. Now, this is tempting for white to bring that capstone over onto d3 now. And if he leaves behind black flats along the way, black cannot wall it. However, black will be able to bring their capstone down onto c3 to make that work. Now, does white want to... Yeah, white does want to capture over, but not leaving a black flat on b3. Leaving that open, which is just open for a wall. Now I think we're going to see that a3 stack spread down to a1, which would renew the road threat. Or he could spread it down just to a2, I guess. Because then if the wall comes down onto b2, then white can still make a road by spreading left instead of just down. I don't know. This is a tough one. I like the spread down all the way, but the wall coming down stops that. Yeah, I'm not sure what the play is. Oh, he brings the capstone left. That renews the threat also. However, black can now bring that capstone. Oh, black can bring the wall left, but then white can play... All right, so what's white's play here? Is white's play... So the wall comes left. Does white smash that, leaving white behind on c3, come over, smash? Or does white play maybe at b3 or at a4 to renew the threat? Because I feel like if the capstone moves left, black's capstone is immediately taking c3. So white probably wants to keep that capstone where it is and maybe shift gears to the vertical. Maybe play it at b1 and go for the vertical threat from here. because you can play at b1 and then at f5 for the vertical threat. Yeah, I kind of like b1 here. b1 feels pretty good because you'll shift gears here. Black's not going to be doing anything with that wall anytime soon. No, captures up. Ooh, that is a risky play here. If black wants, they can capture onto c3, but that's sort of a trap because white's just going to smash it. And a smash would be a threat, but it would be stoppable. I'm pretty sure it would be stoppable. Because you'd bring 4a3 right 2-2. Then there would be 2 white flats there. White brings the capstone down, smashes. Then black can wall at a3. Stops that threat. And there isn't a new one to renew. Yeah, okay. I see the play behind this, but it renews the threat. It does immediately renew this this tack threat that white was building. So white can play at a4 now, but black can just play a flat at a4 and stop this also. But they're in a really tricky spot because that whole part of D, E, and F is untouchable for black. Oh, he's inviting the smash. He is inviting the smash. That's basically the only thing that white should be doing here is smashing that wall. Because if he doesn't, black's wall is going to spread all the way to the right, all the way to f3, and cover up all those flats. Okay, he does it. Then black drops the wall, which is what we expected. Now from here, white can drop a flat at a4 to renew the threat, but I don't think that's the play at this point. White recaptures to keep black from getting that big black stack. I think that's a smart play. But he does it with the entire stack, which I did not expect. He didn't leave behind any white flat or anything like that to be there. Just captured up with the entire stack. Really does not want black to get any of those flats back. He's saying, all right, let's see you try and win on flat count when I've got 6 of your flats underneath. I actually don't know how many flats he's got underneath. Maybe it's more. But I can't see because Allion is moving the board around in an angle where I can't count them. So there's a significant amount of black material underneath that white capstone that black currently has no way of getting to. It's only if white decides to spread that stack out that he could do anything about it. So we might see something from white soon where white plays at a4, making the threat. And then if white plays at a4 to make the threat, black's going to have to stop it by capturing probably onto either b4 or a4. And if he does that, white plays at d4, and then he can spread left, but black's not having it, dropping the wall there right away. And then white drops a wall. A very interesting wall in the midst of their own stuff. For unknown reasons, I guess to capture onto b3? I am a little confused here. But there's no threat that black needs to worry about at this right moment. White is unable to spread their stack down now, which I was expecting them to do. I was expecting them to play at like f5, f4, so that they could throw that capstone stack down south for a road. But that's not what they're doing now because they have a wall there. Unless they're just using it to capture onto b3, which could very well be the point of all of it, is just to capture onto b3. I don't know what the point is after that, though. What is the point after that? Black comes right with that stack. And then... Come on, Alion. Stop going back moves. He went back moves. I think so. What happens is a4 comes right, and then that wall came right onto b4, and then white brought their wall onto b3. So they did make that move. And then black played a flat at b1, if I'm reading the PTN off to the left correctly. It's a little small for my eyes right now. But Alion, get back to the live play here. Come on, man. Okay, so we see that happen. White takes it. Black then plays at b1. All right, get back to live. Get back to live. Come on. We're missing like 5 moves. Come on. Just get through it. I think white captures on that b3 just to keep black from doing anything in that vertical direction. Black then plays down at b1 to start working for the horizontal at the bottom of the board. Then white plays at f1. And then f2 after black plays at e1, going for blocking off that bottom half of the board, but also still working for that vertical line as well. And then black captures right with e1. And then white probably just plays at e1. Yeah, they just drop a flat at e1. Now it's tempting to capture over with e1, but now black's probably going to drop a wall at e1. Maybe? Maybe just a flat. Yeah, drops a wall. Ready to make some positive flat count differential moves because he's running lower on reserves, and I believe he is down in flats. Yeah, down by 1 in flats. White now makes a threat, placing at f5. Now, white can play at f4 and make a road threat. That would be kind of sneaky. Does play at f4. This is a threat. It's easy to miss because it's using that giant capstone stack. And as black, you're thinking, well, I could drop a flat at e1 and make a threat, or I can spread this wall stack up. All right. Come on, get back to live. Quit messing around in the previous moves. Sorry, I'm talking to the recording as if the recording can hear me. I know it's annoying. But I'm annoyed, so I'm being annoying. I guess that's how that works. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure black has spotted the threat by now, which is why they're not taking the bait. Otherwise, it would be kind of a no-brainer. Oh, he didn't spot the bait. He didn't spot the trap. This is now a road for white. White can spread down with the capstone stack all the way to c1. He missed it. He missed the threat. Now, yep. And there white goes, spreading that capstone stack down, leaving behind that giant stack of black flats that can't do anything because the game is over. Ali wins Game 4 of this semifinals match in the TAC Championship Tournament. That means he is going on to the finals in this tournament. On to the finals, which is exciting, and that is a big deal. So congratulations to Ali for making it to the finals of this tournament. And well played to ManaT as well. You did a great job. Great play for ManaT throughout this whole tournament, really. I was surprised by how well he did playing against No Hat Coder, beating him, and then playing well in these games against Ali. He is definitely a top player, top competitor, and not one to overlook in these tournaments. So congratulations to both players, but also a special congratulations to Ali for making it to the finals. That's really exciting. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the TAC Discord server, which is the community hub and where you can find all sorts of TAC resources like strategy guides and people to play with, whether that be right here on playtac.com or over on the Discord server playing asynchronously. You can play just one move a day if you want to. Lots of folks play on there. You can play with, hey, maybe even some of these competitors or even me sometimes. So go on there, go onto the Discord, check that out. And thanks again for watching. And until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.